Last time we have seen a particular aspect of Savitri looking into the possibility of going as Sati in the death of Satyavan. But she immediately rules that out, that possibility. She would not like to go as Sati because she sees the necessity of her presence here to help the elderly parents of Satyavan. They would need help and she cannot just walk away from the scene. Well, this may look to be a very simplistic picture for the whole thing of Sati idea and of withdrawing from that action by Savitri. The reason which is indicated here that her old parents-in-law would need her. But as we have seen last time, actually there is a truth in the very ideal of Satihood. It is not there for nothing, and Sri Aurobindo would not have introduced that aspect into the Savitri had there not been any significance attached to the Sati ideal. The other consideration is of course also there. Savitri's old parents-in-law needed her. In fact, this is indicative of a oneness to the entire creation. The parents-in-law stand for the entire world here, helpless, unable to do things in this world, seeking support from young people. This is indicative of the necessity of the incarnate power to come and give them help. It is not just an idea, it is not just a symbol, it is not just a metaphor, it is a spiritual identity of Savitri with this entire creation that is epitomized in the statement of hers that her parents-in-law would need her. That is the real meaning of it. And all along her mission has been to do whatever she has to do as the incarnate Shakti for the good of this creation, for the good of earth and men. That is Savitri's mission. So earth and men are epitomized here in the figures of Satyavan's parents. Now regarding the ideal of Satihood, as I said last time, Sati is a feminine of the word Sat, truth. And she going as Sati would mean she is dedicating herself totally to the ideal of truth, of oneness with the lover. That is the important thing. Oneness with the lover in whether it is in life or in death. That should not make any distinction for her. It should not separate these two for her. It is the oneness between the lover and the beloved that is identified in the ideal of Sati. There is also an occult connotation behind that. When the living soul accompanies the soul which has ceased to be, then it provides him the occult support in his onward journey. He does not go alone then. She is there as Shakti accompanying the spirit of the deceased and it is that which is very valuable, and Sati ideal has a meaning from that point of view. In fact, as I said earlier also, this ideal of Satihood is a Vedic ideal. It has been there in the Vedas, it has been followed in the traditions, it is there in the Ramayana, it is there in the Mahabharata, it is there in the Puranas also, and it is there in Savitri for a certain purpose. Sri Aurobindo would not otherwise introduce that thing into Savitri had it not had that significance, that importance, that bearing, that occult connotation, the power which accompanies the Sati devotees. The only question which one might ask is, all right, the husband dies and the wife goes as Sati because there is an occult support for him and it is provided by the wife. Could that also not mean that suppose the wife dies first, will the husband go as Sati? Strictly speaking, it should happen. It should happen. But nowhere in the scriptural literature we have a mention of a husband going as Sati with a dead wife. The reason is perhaps of a different type. The connotation is of a different type. It is the power of the womanhood which is important here. It is not the power of Purusha, but the power of Ishwari, of Prakriti, of Shakti, which is what really helps the deceased on the way after his death. And it is that power which is needed. So, even if a husband would go as Sati, I don't know whether he would be really that effective as a woman going as Sati in that sense. So there is a difference. The other, of course, point is, in the case of a woman, there is a psychic spontaneity in the whole action. She is doing it from the depth of her heart, which is not so much always there in man. And therefore, it cannot carry that power at all in that sense. So the Sati ideal is therefore more connected with the wife than with the husband, accompanying the dead person. Now, the truth of Satihood is there, and even as late as a couple of centuries ago, Madhvacharya, he asserted the value of Satihood in India, in the Indian tradition. He asserted that there is a meaning to Satihood. But unfortunately, the ideal of Satihood applicable for a soul relationship is not always present in human relationship. Most of the time, in fact 99.9999 whatever you call it, the relation between husband and wife is a physical relationship. It is not a soul relationship at all. And therefore, when in social systems, social customs, social traditions, Sati is imposed upon the woman, it becomes an oppression, it becomes a degradation, it loses this true significance of it. And that is exactly what happened during the course of history in India. The true ideal of Satihood is only for those who have spiritually developed, who have acquired occult powers in them, not for common man and woman. So, imposing the condition of Satihood on a woman when her husband dies is a degradation of Satihood. And that has to go away. Last time I told you, Madri went to Sati with Pandu in the Mahabharata. Now, there is something deep in that, and it was accepted. But later, in the traditions, it became an imposition, a rule, a social custom. And whether a young girl would like it or not, all her relatives and the entire society would force her to go as Sati. That is the degradation, and that has no value at all. That must be stopped. In fact, when Alexander the Great invaded India about 300 BC, roughly 2300 years ago, one of the learned persons who had accompanied him, he has recorded the traditions of Satihood in India, and he says that Satihood was practiced in Takshila in those days, and there was a degree of spontaneity in the action. No woman was forced to go as Sati. She volunteered. She went of her own as Sati with the dead husband. It is also recorded during the Maurya period, about 400 years or so. They are on record, Satihood and all that. But these rulers were also cautious, but also particular that no woman is forced by her relatives and the members of the society to do a Sati. It should be a voluntary act on her part. That was the tradition. Later it became more rigid and the women were forced to do a Sati. During the Mahomedan period, Sultanate regime from 1200 to 1500 AD, they had passed a rule of no woman going as Sati without official permission. That means the rule. Well, in a certain sense it was good. Akbar the Great, he had also passed a rule to the same effect. No woman would go as Sati without official permission. Satihood was banned. Yet, Sati system continued till recent times. During Raja Ram Mohan Roy, it was very prevalent in Bengal. Any widow, young widow or elderly widow, it didn't matter. She had to go as Sati with a dead husband. It was he who brought the reformation and stopped Satihood in Bengal in around 1850 or so. It was banned. In fact, in Rajasthan, the act of going as Satihood continued till 1985, 1987. Continued. Only then, at that time, around that time, the rule was passed that no woman will go as Sati. In 1987, till recent time. Well, political systems, the kings, imposing this condition is a good sign, because a dictator system has no value at all and somebody has to stop it. The only person who can stop it is the power and authority. You only can do that. Social system, our system is a dictator system. In fact, at one place, Sri Aurobindo says that the Hindu house is in half ruins. this imposition of sati on women is a part of that half-ruined house. It has no value. It has to go away. It cannot stay there at all. So, that was necessity. And it is good that even the Muslims had imposed this condition on the Hindus doing the sati. But also, there is another side of women as doing sati. We have the famous Jauhar in Rajasthan, when the Muslims invaded the country or conquered the kingdom and massacred the soldiers. Most of the women voluntarily went as sati in Rajasthan. They immolated themselves on the burning fire so that they are not caught by the Muslims and spoiled, deformed, misused, abused. This kind of a thing would not happen for them. And in that sense, there is something very noble about this large number of women doing the sati at Jauhar in the traditions of Rajasthan. Earlier, at the end of the Vijayanagar Empire, Ramaraya, he was defeated by the confederation of Muslim states in the south, and the whole empire collapsed. Hampi was in ruins at that time. But the form roots of noble Hinduism were present in the souls of society, and a very large number of women after the battle of Talikota went as sati, sacrificed themselves because they would not like to be captured and misused by the Muslim, by the conquerors. They went as sati. Now, that is a part of karma which is accumulated on the positive side of the society, and that is what makes it more valuable. It gives a value, nobility, significance, a kind of a dynamism to the society. So that aspect of sati is perfectly alright. It is a voluntary act for a noble cause doing the sati. But forcing a woman to go with sati, that is a terrible degradation, and that is not acceptable at all. So, when Savitri is thinking of going as sati, she is going as sati in the nobility of the satihood. In that sense, she is not forced by anybody at all. She did not go at all. She would not be forced by anybody at all. And she is a woman who will not be forced, cannot be forced, will not obey if there is something against her will. Savitri is always firm in her will, and whatever she decides, that she will perform. She will act according to that. So that is the ideal of satihood, which is being kind of touched upon en passant in Savitri. In fact, describing social themes, describing philosophical themes, describing religious themes, poetic themes, themes of various kinds, is the aspect of the richness of an epic. Epic comprises all these dimensions, and it touches upon in a very crucial way on every aspect of this relationship, of this life in which we live. And that is what really makes Srimati Savitri also very powerful, very rich, very comprehensive, very absorbing, very educative in terms of social organization, very significant in terms of guidelines. And it is that which we don't normally understand when we approach Savitri. read Savitri, study Savitri. These are necessary things. Social reflections are there and they have to be caught and explored and implemented. In other words, so to say, everything is present in Savitri. Our task is to have applied Savitri. We have to prepare ourselves to understand, grasp, go into the depth of Savitri and apply it in life, in social systems, in organization, in our workings, in our thought, in our feelings, in our actions. It has to be applied. That is what is necessary for us to do when we take up Savitri. Of course, it is the help for spiritual growth, for the transformative power it has down to the physical. But that does not mean that Savitri does not have other elements present in it. They are there in their full richness and in their power and in their efficacy. So let us read a couple of lines in that context and see what we have here. Often it seemed to her the age's pain had pressed the quintessence into her single woe, concentrating in her a tortured world. In a single woe, its quintessence is brought, is condensed, the pain, the anguish, the suffering, the torture of the whole creation. Savitri's woe is so vast, so deep, so intense that it has absorbed every element of anguish of this creation into it. And therefore, if she can resolve that thing in her soul, it will be automatically be resolving even in the world. It is that power. She has absorbed the entire woe in her woe. And if she can eliminate that woe from her soul, it means that that woe is removed from this entire world. That is what Savitri is up to. Often it seemed to her the ages pain, not today's, tomorrow's, yesterday's, but of ages, we, all the things we have been suffering. This transient and sorrowful world, anityam, asukham, painful world, all those things are here, and she has gathered the entire creation's pain in her pain. So if that pain in her can be removed, it means automatically the pain of the world will also disappear. Had pressed the quintessence into a single woe, concentrating in her a tortured world. Thus, in the silent chamber of her soul, cloistering her love to live with secret grief, she dwelt like a dumb priest with hidden gods, unappeased by the worldless offering of her days, lifting to them a sorrow like frankincense, her life the altar, herself the sacrifice. So what is she doing? What is she going to do now? She will pick up the pain which is there in her soul, in her heart, and lit the yajna fire and put that pain, that yajna fire, that it is purified, it is dissolved, that it disappears. She is becoming a priestess. She is going to perform a sacrifice. She is going to light a yajna and put the pain in that fire. How? In the silent chamber of her soul. That is the most important thing. She will not be disturbed by pain and grief, not even by the thought of the death of her husband. She is tortured, she is anguished, she is not in know of how she is going to tackle in the moment of death. She has no idea, no hint of it. But within in a silent cell, in her soul deep within, she sits there, and in the silent chamber of her soul, cloistering her love, closing up her love, to live with secret grief, not only her grief, but the grief of the entire world. It is that which is gathered in her grief. Secret grief also means secret because she only knows. Her husband has no idea about her grief. Satyavan has no idea why Savitri could be sorrowful. Her parents-in-law had no idea. The rishis in the forest, they had no hint that Savitri must be harboring in her soul some grief. Therefore, it is a secret grief also on an individual level. It is also a grief which is deeply hidden in the creation, which is not known to us. It is that which is gathered by her in her grief. Cloistering her love to live with secret grief, she dwelt like a dumb priest with hidden gods. The gods standing there, and she standing in front of them like a priestess to worship them with all the grief gathered in her soul. Now, who are these hidden gods? Well, unappeased by the world is offering her days, these gods, they are not satisfied by her daily offerings. She is praying, she is pleading, she is weeping, she is offering her tears to them, but they are not satisfied, they remain unappeased. Unappeased with the worldless offering of her days, lifting to them her sorrow like frankincense, Dhoop, the way in which you burn dhoop, and it rises. It is in that manner that she is putting her sorrow in the fire that it may rise and please these gods, but these gods are not pleased. They remain adamant. The secret gods, the hidden gods, they remain adamant. They demand their own price. Without that, there is no help of it. Her life, the altar, she has made her own life, the Yajna Kunda. Herself, the sacrifice, Yajna. Her life has become the Yajna Kunda. She herself has become the Yajna fire. And in that fire she is offering her sorrow like frankincense, like dhoop burning and going up there, frankincense, dhoop, that is the gum from a tree, whitish in color, and it is a fragrance also, beautiful fragrance. Now frankincense is having to some extent the Christian connotation also. When Christ was born, and when the three wise men came to know about the birth of the Son of God, they went to the place where he was born, and they offered him the precious gifts. These three wise men, Magi, they went to the place where he was born, the manger, and offered him three gifts. The gift of frankincense, mahi, gold, dhoop, gogul, as we call it, gogul, and gold, sona. These are the three precious gifts of the religious tradition, most valuable in the tradition, and that is the best you can offer to God. Savitri is offering such a best thing, frankincense of her life, into the Yajna fire. frankincense is mentioned in Saint Matthew, is mentioned also Saint Luke. It has a traditional biblical significance. To some extent, the description which we have here has that element in it, the Christian element Sri Vendu has introduced here. But at the same time, it is applicable to the yajna system we have in India. In India, we normally don't put dhoop or gur in the yajna. We put sandalwood. We put ghee, purified, sanctified ghee. We put that ghee. We put other ahutis in the yajna, not frankincense. So in that sense, frankincense has more a connotation of a Christian tradition here. Let us read that passage again. Thus, in the silent chamber of her soul, cloistering her love to live with secret grief, she dwelt like a dumb priest with hidden gods, unappeased with the wordless offerings of her days, lifting to them a sorrow like frankincense, her life the altar, herself the sacrifice. This is a very powerful description, very rich, very elaborate in details, conveying so many aspects of spiritual philosophy, of occult knowledge in a few lines, just 6 lines. Everything is kind of presented so swiftly, so suggestively, so concretely also, with all the deep occult connotation. Now here the phrase, she dwelt like a dumb priest. Savitri is a dumb priest. Why dumb? Because she is helpless. She has become speechless. She doesn't know what to do. The grief is there. Tomorrow my husband is going to die. And she has no idea of what she is going to do. She does not even know how to pray to the gods. She is going to offer her life to them, but she has no idea how to pray to them. And who are these gods? These hidden gods. These are the powers of the inconscience which are standing in front of her. Evil, falsehood, death, ignorance, suffering, misery. These are the powers, these are the hidden gods of this creation rising from the inconscience. And Savitri is going to be facing them. She is making her life a sacrifice in front of them. And she does not know whether they will be satisfied by the sacrifice. But the point is, in a spiritual occult, action, she has already come to the stage. She is facing all those hidden gods in front of her, and she has to make a sacrifice. Yes, she is going to make a sacrifice. She is not going to go ascetic. She is going to meet them face to face, take the challenge, and see that they are not there. Her life, the altar, herself is sacrifice. Only when the Supreme Incarnate Shakti makes such a sacrifice can these gods, these hidden gods, these powers rising from the inconscience can be conquered, can be subdued at least. It is that stage to which Savitri has already arrived without doing yoga. Her yoga is yet to start, in fact. Her yoga is yet to start. She is simply weighing the pros and cons of going sati, this thing, that thing, and whatnot and whatnot. But she has already come. Look, all these gods are standing here, and what am I going to do? She has no idea of that. What am I going to do? That knowledge will come to her when she sets herself on the yoga. She will be guided to do this by the Supreme Guide. She will follow that path, and then, until then, she is dumb, she is mute, She is helpless. She is simply doing it as a part of certain psychological elements which are already present in her, and therefore they are standing there in front of her, lifting to them a sorrow like frankincense. See what a beautiful thing. The sorrow itself has become a frankincense. It doesn't happen normally. She had a power to purify, to make it glorious, even sorrow. That is the power of the Shakti. When she is weeping, when she is crying, even a sorrow can become so powerful, so beautiful, so holy, so sacred, so serene, so acceptable. That is the power of the Shakti doing her actions here. Now, we have, well, let us see something which is very important in this connection. Maybe we can see that quickly. See, this element, unappeased with the wordless offering of her days, unappeased, these gods, the hidden powers, have remained unhappy. This we are seeing here in Book 7, Canto 1, almost toward the end of the book. But the yogi poet has already introduced this particular element in the first canto itself, the book of beginning, the symbol dawn. And we can see the connection between this and what is presented in the symbol dawn in a very brief manner. Page 11. Savitri is weighing pros and cons, whether to do this, to do that, what not. And then what happens here? All came back to her. The moment of decision is that everything comes back to her. She is suddenly becoming aware of what she is supposed to do. All earth and love and death is standing in front of her. Yes, I am here for the earth. Yes, I am here to do the will of my God. Yes, I am here to conquer death. Death who is standing across the path of the divine event. Death who is standing as an obstacle in the supramental manifestation. It is that which has to go away. So all has suddenly come back to her when she is grieving in the presence of Satyavan in the hermitage. All came back to her, earth and love and doom, the ancient disputants, they are the ones who are falling. The soul of the earth, death establishing its law of mortality on the earth, and love trying to get out of it so that the divine manifestation becomes possible. It becomes free of death. Only when love is free of death, that a divine manifestation becomes possible. All came back to her, earth and love and doom. The ancient disputants encircled her, like giant figures wrestling in the night. The goddess from the dim inconscient born. See here, the goddess from the dim inconscient born, the hidden gods, what we are seeing here. The hidden gods is what we have got in the book of Yoga here. And here it says, the goddess from the dim inconscient born. It is they who are now appearing in front of Savitri when she is grieving and she does not know what to do. She is making her life a sacrifice, but she is not in a position to what further action she has to go. The goddess from the dim inconscient form awoke to struggle and a pang divine. She has a pang. It is not her personal pang. It is not a human pang. It is not the pang of Savitri. It is not the pang of yours or mine, of man, of the small creature here. It is the pang divine. It is divine himself who is feeling the pain of this condition. of the spirit. And it is that pang, that divine pang, which has now sort of awakened in her soul. And therefore, about the struggle and the pang divine and the shadow of her flaming heart at the somber center of the dire debate, a guardian of the unconsoled abyss. He is the one who is guarding this inconscience, this abysm of night. It is that guardian who is standing there. Savitri is facing you. A guardian of the unconsoled abyss, inheriting the long agony of the globe of this entire creation of the universe. It is he who has inherited the agony of this creation, and it is he who is standing in front of her. A guardian of the unconsoled abyss, inheriting the long agony of the globe, a stone still figure is mute, calm, immovable, like a stone statue, firm, fixed, huge statue, standing across the path of divine way. It is he who is standing there. Stone still figure of high and godlike pain. Pain is personified here. P is capital. It is that pain, divine pain, the godlike pain, who has personified himself, is standing like a statue in front of Savitri. Savitri has to meet him. And it is that statue, Savitri is offering her arghya, her ahutis, her every bit of emotion. But he remains unappeased. He is not satisfied at all with all her offerings. What else does he want? She has no idea of that. Why is he not satisfied? What else does he want? A stone still figure of high and godlike pain stared into space with fixed, regardless eyes. That saw grief's timeless depths, but not life's goal. That pain sees the age-old grief, why is it there and all that thing. But it has no knowledge what is the goal of this life. He is standing there mute, calm, firm, staring into all these things. He will not allow any traveler to cross him unless he is answered by this question. Why? What is the goal of life? Unless somebody answers that, we will not allow him to move forward. He is standing there. Now it is Savitri who is going to answer him. Yes, this is the aim of life. I am here to achieve this aim. I am here to see that all that stands in the way of achieving this aim is removed. That is what Savitri is going to do. Let us see if we can go to the last few lines for the canto. Savitri has already arrived at a crucial point about what kind of course of action she should take to meet a future event. She was helpless. She could not find any way to tackle the issue which was posing her. Finally, she makes her life itself an altar, and on that altar she offers herself fully as a sacrifice. Her life is a yajna kunda, and the fire which is lit in the yajna kunda is herself. That is the great tradition, the Vedic tradition of getting a solution, getting an answer by doing a yajna. Savitri is already performing a great yajna of her life and sacrificing herself totally to the flames rising from the fire there. In a certain sense, this itself is an act of going as sati. She is already offering herself to the fire. It is itself an act of going as sati in advance, not with the dead body of her husband, but when he is still living, breathing, with whom we can still talk around. Actually, this yajna is also something which the Vedic rishis always performed to get answers to their spiritual quest, to their occult difficulties, to solve them. That is what they always did. The story of Sati itself is linked up with that yajna. Dakshayani, the daughter of Daksha, whose son-in-law was Shiva himself. When Daksha performed yajna, he invited all the gods and all the great rishis for the yajna. But he did not invite Shiva, his son-in-law. Sati felt insulted, Dakshayani felt insulted. She went to her father's place and lit a yajna herself and plunged into it. That is the Satihood. She had already performed an act. And out of that then arose Sati in another form as Gauri, young girl, golden, beautiful, who of course then became Parvati. She was spouse, and it is to the union of Parvati and Shiva that Kumar Kartikeyan was born. It is in the birth of Kartikeyan that the death of the Asura, Tarakeshwara, was destined. It was fixed in that. So, Savitri's yajna is also something akin to that. She is already plunging herself into the yajna. And the power she will get from that, it is that power she will conquer death. It is not the question of Tarakeshwara, Asura. It is the question of death of Yama himself, who will be dealt with by Savitri. So in a sense, Savitri has already performed the act of going as Sati. And the reward of that act will be eventually to make the divine power, the transcendental Mahashakti, come down and sit in her soul. That is already assured by this thing. She is offering her life. She has made an altar. She has built the Yajna Kunda of her life, and she is now plunging into the flames. Well, the act is done, but still human Savitri is yet human. And she has to meet all the contingencies of human nature. She has now started doing her yoga, and it is towards that now the yogic poet is leading the story, the narrative of Savitri here. Yet ever they grow into each other more. Yet ever they grow into each other more. In spite of this anguish, this separation of Savitri offering herself into the flame, perhaps because of that, Satyavan and Savitri came closer and closer together. The grief, the separation, what is going to happen next day, that is not going to disturb anymore Savitri now. Yet ever they grew into each other more and more until it seemed no power could rend them apart. Since even the body's walls could not divide, they are two bodies. But there is the oneness, the intrinsic oneness of Satyavan and Savitri, where there cannot be a separation due to the two bodies. There is a oneness. So when Satyavan goes to the forest, the spirit of Savitri, the subtle Sharira of Savitri, in her subtle body, Sukshma Sharira, she is all the while accompanying Satyavan. In a similar manner, the subtle presence of Satyavan is always there with Savitri. Since even the body's walls could not divide, Sukshma Sharira, Sukshma Deha has already become one. They are fused into each other. For when he wandered in the forest, Satyavan will go for work to the forest, and he will go in the forest from place to place. Or when he wandered in the forest, oft her conscious spirit walked with him. She was present always along with him, walked with him and knew his actions as if in herself he moved. Her subtle body became so vast, had surrounded the whole place, has become the forest itself through which he was now walking. His actions as if in herself he moved. Savitri is aware of it, but Satyavan, he, less aware, trailed with her from afar. He is in the forest, Savitri is in the hermitage. Yet his consciousness, his subtle body is directly in contact with Savitri even. So for when he wandered, since even the body's walls could not divide, this is the example he is giving by way of illustration. He, less aware, trailed with her from afar. Always the stature of her passion grew. Grief, fear became the food of mighty lover, of mighty love. In fact, whatever was there, that sorrow, that anguish, that anxiety, that pain, that itself became food for love. The more intense became the grief, the more intense grew her love. And in that oneness, in the subtle physical of the two, it grew to get brighter. He, less aware, trailed with her from afar. Always the stature of her passion grew. Grief, fear became the food of mighty love. Increased by its torment, it filled the whole world. Again, it is the power of Yajna Savitri has done. She has offered her life to the fire of love. And in that power, what happened? Increased by its torment, the torment of love. That love will be no more there in its gross physical. It is that which is tormenting her. Increased by its torment, it filled the whole world. It is no more now the love only for Satyavan. The entire world is embraced by her in that love. Increased by its torment, it filled the whole world. It was all her life, became her whole earth and heaven. Although life born, an infant are the hours. Immortal it walked, unslavable as the gods. That love has become already immortal. It is an infant in the reckoning of the earth's possibilities. But that love is unslayable. Not even death can kill it. Unslayable as the gods. It has the quality of immortality of the gods themselves. Her spirit, stretched measureless in strength and divine. Her spirit, stretched measureless in strength divine. And anvil for the blows of fate and time, or tired of sorrow's passionate luxury, grief's self became calm, delight, resolute, awaiting some issue of his fiery struggle, some deed in which it might forever cease, victorious over itself and death and tears. Savitri has already attained a yogic poise. She is there to receive the blows of fate and time. Fate is waiting at the doorsteps. Time is arriving with the speed of light. And Savitri is there to bear the blows of fate and time. But her sorrow itself becomes a passionate luxury. She cannot afford now anymore to keep on grieving. She is not now in a state to grieve. Most of the time in human life, when the grief is intense, you cannot bear it, you cannot express it. What happens? You just remain calm, unspoken. You don't utter a word at all. Your friends, your relatives, everybody is around, but your grief is so powerful, so strong. You remain calm. It has become so intense. It happens in human life. But in the case of Savitri, it is not she who has become calm. It is the very self of grief who has become calm. The personified grief. Grief as a person standing in front of him, no, in front of her. It is he who has become calm. The personification of grief. And he becoming calm. That is an occult yogic thing which has happened in the case of Savitri. It does not happen in the case of a common human individual. You cry, you weep, you shout, you beat your breast or head or whatever, and then you fall silent. It is tamasic silence. That grief falling calm is tamasic silence, inert calm. It has not a spiritual quality. In the case of Savitri, the entire grief itself has become, so to say, luminous, bright, desirable, calm. There is an intensity or shanti which got now condensed in that person of grief, in the case of Savitri. Grief still became calm, delight, resolute, awaiting some issue of his fiery struggle. Yes, grief is now standing like a rishi, like a calm mountain or whatever you call it, and awaiting what time and fate are going to do with him. Some deed in which it might forever cease. It is expecting now that this will be all over. Victorious over itself and death and tears. The calm of that grief is so intense, so powerful, so vast also, that even death itself will be subdued by him. Death is not going to touch that grief. Now that is really the great thing which Savitri has already achieved in an occult yogic sense. Some deed in which it might forever cease, victorious over itself and death and tears. The moment the grief's self becomes calm, it means that now Savitri is poised to launch herself on the path of yoga. The preparatory stage has already arrived, has been done, has been accomplished. The preparation is there already. And Savitri now can begin. Grief is not going to disturb her at all. It is out of her way totally. That she can now pursue fully, undisturbed by anything. A single aim to gather the power of Mahashakti in her soul and then meet death. That is what is now going to happen in the case of Savitri when she is going to undertake the yoga. So, she is going back and forth, swaying this way, that way, weighing all the possibilities to do this or to do that. All that has now been dismissed, and the entire issue is gathered in the person of grief, who is calm like a luminous statue. Grief self became calm, delight, resolute, awaiting some issue of his fiery struggle, some deed in which it might forever see victorious over itself and death and tears. Yes, the ground is ready now for Savitri to do yoga. Therefore, the poet is telling us the year is over, last few days are remaining, and the moment of Satyavan's death will be arriving shortly. So he says, the year now passed upon the brink of change, with the grief self becoming calm, and the possibility of change now undergoing in Savitri. Now that is the psychological, that is the spiritual change which is indicated here, but he is now expressing it in the nature of the metaphor of the season, of the things that are happening in your round. The year now passed upon the brink of change. No more the storm sail with stupendous wings, and thunder strode in wrath across the world. No more there was storm, no more was that thunder, and still was heard a muttering in the sky, and rain dripped wearily, as it died, wearily through the mournful air, and grey slow drifting clouds shut in the earth. The entire earth is now enclosed by the slow drifting clouds. That is the description of the season. That is the end of the union between Satyavan and Savitri. The moment of death is arriving shortly, and therefore he has strictly changed the metaphor from the life of Savitri to the ending of the season. The season itself, the year itself, is the body of man. The year itself is the body of man. At the end of the year, man has to give up his body. Satyavan, at the end of the year, after marriage with Savitri, has to abandon his body so that a new season, new cycle of life can begin with it. And grey, slow drifting cloud shut in the earth. The earth is enclosed with clouds. In the same manner, so her griefs heavy sky. See the grey cloud, the heavy sky, the similarity, the metaphorical connotations are very distinct, and the poet has brought them out in a most vivid manner, the comparison between. So her griefs, heavy sky, shut in her heart. The sky itself has enclosed the heart of Savitri. It is now in her fold, it is in its fold. A still self hid behind, but gave no light. Yes, she is shut in by the sky, but she has no idea now what to do next. The still self within her has kept hidden this message from her. The still self behind he hid behind the sky of grief, but gave no light, no indication. No voice came down from the forgotten heights. Savitri knows that she has come from superior domain, superior world, superior realm. From those heights, she was kind of expecting some answer. She was kind of expecting some message. Now Savitri, do this, do that. But everything is kept hidden from her, sealed from her. A still self hid behind, but gave no light. No voice came down from the forgotten heights. Only in the privacy of his growing pain, her human heart spoke to the bodies of faith. What is happening? Our inner soul, our inner being has no idea what to do next. Only the exterior self of Savitri is responding to the body's fate. Only in the privacy of his growing pain, her human heart spoke to the body's fate. It is human heart speaking to human body. That is always is now existing. But what has happened within her Everything is kept back from her. The grief self has become calm. She is expecting some voice to come down from above. It is not reaching yet. Forgotten night. She knows that she has come from somewhere else, from some high place, and she wants some command to come from that, so that she can proceed onward. Nothing is happening. Now, the year now passed upon the brink of change. That is how the canto is ending. First canto of the book of Luke. The year now passed upon the brink of change. This line is also reminiscent of the description we had in the Mahabharata story of Savitri. Savitri is counting days. She is aware of the day on which Satyavan is going to die. Narad has already fixed the date so soon. So she is counting. Oh, now 1 week remaining. Now 4 days are remaining. Now 3 days are remaining. After 3 days, my husband will be not there. At the moment she sees that only 3 days are remaining, she decides firmly to undertake what is called the 3-night vow, Tri-Ratra Vrata. Savitri undertakes the vow of standing at a given single spot continuously for 3 days, for 72 hours, without moving from that place. She is not going to take water, she is not going to drink anything. She is not going to move from that place at all. She was dissuaded from undertaking such a vow by Vimasena, her father-in-law. But she was firm, and she told him, look, this is my desire. Please allow me to undertake this vrata, this vow. She is not going to disclose to him why she is going to undertake that vrata, that vow. She is asking him, please allow me to perform this vrata of standing at a single place for 3 days continuously. Finally, Vimasena concedes her wish. Savitri performs a 3-night vow. Now, the 3-night vow again is extremely symbolic. In it, in the entire quintessence of the yoga tapasya of Savitri, she has been carrying out life after life through ages, age after age. Now the moment has come when she has to undertake this particular vow. The year now passed upon the brink of change. Change has to take place, and she is determined to undertake this vow. 3 nights obviously mean the night of the physical, the night of the vital, the night of the mental. She is going to perform the vrata of all these 3 aspects of lower nature and then get ready to do her yoga, the conquest of death. She is there already. Nachiketa, he was waiting for Yama to come back. He was waiting at his doorsteps for 3 nights. And the goal which he had received from Yama was of the secret of fire. Yama revealed to him the secret of 3 fires, and these 3 fires are named after Nachiketa. Savitri's yajna here of 3-night vow of getting the boon is not to receive the secret of fire. Of course that is required, but her task is much deeper, much profound, more significant than that. She has to meet Yama himself, Yama, who has assumed a dark form. Yama who has assumed a dark form. It is that Yama in the dark form who must disappear from the scene. Mrityu Loka is governed presently by this Yama in his dark form, the shadow Yama. The shadow Yama has to disappear from the Mrityu Loka. And the true Yama, the true God, the son of Vivasvana in his truest form, it is he who must now govern this Mrityu Loka. That moment is arriving, and Savitri is preparing herself for confronting Yama of the dark. And it is that who has to be dislodged from this place, from Mrityu Loka, from Prithvi, who is subject to Yama in the dark form at the moment. Only when that Yama disappears, the Satya Dharma, Dharmaraja, in his proper fullest glory, who will rule here on this world. It is his reign which will then begin of the true Yama, Dharmaraja in his most splendid form. Dharmaraj being divine himself, God here, so to say, to govern the world with the law of truth, Satyam Vritam. It is that which will begin from that moment onward. And this is what is going to happen in the Yajna of Savitri.